in.
I want to go in. I want to go in.
Who's the big baby?
Yes, we can.
Hey. How you doing? Looks like you got an old picture there.
Oh, he
Yeah. We have to rush it.
That's right.
Down that way.
In the car.
Come and see me, man. Talk to her.
Actually, ask who they were. The people. Not Schumacher, though, right? You sat up there now. I started.
I got to sleep until 7.
I move on.
Well, in vain, maybe.
I don't know. There's hard to Oh, where's she? You guys got to do and do the family thing down there, and then head to Ashland, and then
And I love this old building.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you? Great. Yeah, it's really exciting. It's really overcrowded.
The silver ones in?
Yeah.
And what about the tall one? Is that your?
That's Lorelai's son, Steven.
That's true.
I'd like to welcome all of you. Just 1 second here. Can everybody hear this a little better now? Or? It's on 10, as far as we can go, folks. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out this morning with the skies the way they are and everything. Really appreciate it, and if everyone can kind of move a little bit forward here, it will help out. July 2nd, 1999 caused a lot of problems here in the county with the courthouse and a lot of other residents and other things in the community. We seem to be the only ones really hurt under this earthquake, and we've had a lot of decisions and a lot of things that had to be made since that time. And so I would like to start out by thanking the Festival of People for letting us get involved with their festival today and dedicating our courthouse opening again after the damage from the earthquake. And they have worked with us real well, and I really appreciate that. I also would like to thank all the people involved as far as the county employees and stuff that have had to endure a lot of changes throughout this 2 years. We moved in, we moved out, we had a lot of things to do, because when you end up having an older building like this with problems, we had to make sure the building was going to be structurally safe, or could foundation-wise we could fix it. We felt that we could, we started, and I hope that the people of Grace Harbor County will be pleased with this courthouse. A lot of it you won't see, and that's because it's fixing up the walls and the structure so it's safe for the public and safe for the employees to work out of. And we have roughly around 60 to 65 people that work out of this building every day, and this building is used probably more than any building that we have in the county as far as any of the buildings that we have. I would like to introduce a few people that are here before we get started on this, and just one second, as soon as I can turn some pages here. I would like to introduce Judge. I'd like to introduce our Superior Court Judge, Mark McCormick. I'd like to introduce Clerk Sherry Brown. I'd like to introduce Sheriff Mike Whaler. Our Judge, John, I'd like to miss one back here, but District Court Judge Stephen Brown. I'd like to introduce Judge John Schumacher. And I'd like to introduce the Superior Court Judge Gordy Daughtry. We have a lot of elected officials that have come, and I would certainly like to thank them for coming to this. I'm not going to get into introducing everybody because I'm just afraid there's some dark clouds out there, and I think we need to get in and look at the courthouse a little bit more, but we appreciate every one of you for coming and helping. I want to thank all of the county staff that has worked real hard for this opening and also has worked real hard to put this back together. I'd just like to say, to start out with that, when we started, we had to start it and try to put things together. And of course, at that time, it was like, well, what do we do? And it's most usually, well, turn it over to Mikey and let him fix it. And back at that time, Mike Danielson was the person that did that. So Mike started the ball rolling on getting this thing going. And then when he left, we turned it over to Kevin Barnes, and Kevin carried it from there. And throughout that whole time, they worked with Mary Davis from our insurance group to make sure that we were handling things right. So I want to thank those people and everyone else in the staff that's worked hard for that. Now for a couple other introductions, I would like to introduce Acting Chief Judge of District 2 State Court of Appeals, Robin Hunt.
Thank you. Division 2 of the Court of Appeals is the next highest level of court from this court. If you don't like the result, or you think your judge here has made the wrong decision and you want to challenge that, then you come to our court, which still is a county. However, the citizens of Grays Harbor County should be glad to know that, as far as I can tell, that your judges here are rarely reversed and almost always affirmed for doing the right thing. In closing, I just say congratulations to all of you for making the commitment to restore and keep alive this magnificent courthouse. It's one of the finest in the state, and I always look forward to coming here. Congratulations.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you all for coming this morning. Obviously, I was a new commissioner that started in January, so I was not here when the decision, yeah, it wasn't my fault. I am going to have to put my name on a loan coming up here shortly. I know that. But I want to thank you all for being here this morning, and I want to thank all of the county departments that live in this building. When the earthquake happened and it was decided to move, many county departments, elected officials, department heads had to go to other locations. The district court, which works out of this building, had to go to the Port of Grays Harbor, and they were housed next to a repair shop for trucks. And there were times when gas fumes and everything else disrupted their operation, but they were steadfast in doing their job. Why was the decision made to preserve and maintain this building? And thinking about it, I think because our history as a county is here. Generations of citizens and families have used this courthouse, and it's important to maintain it for the generations of families and children in the future to also use the courthouse. Our history is here, our founding fathers were here, and our present community is proud to have the courthouse in Montesano. What would Montesano be without the courthouse? What would Elma and East County be? What would it be like as a citizen of Aberdeen or Hoquiam or Ocean Shores to drive on that freeway right out there and not see this dome? The decision that was made was the right decision. We've become a society where we throw everything away. If it's broke, throw it away and go buy a new one. This courthouse was worth saving. The millions of dollars that were dedicated to restore the courthouse was money well spent. Because in the future, when we drive by on that freeway, our courthouse will still be here because it wasn't a throwaway. Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you, Dennis. Now I'd like to turn it over to the other commissioner with the group that we have right now, and that is Dan Wood, and he has District 3. Dan Wood.
Well, I'll start off like Dennis and say I came in here midstream, so it's only partially my fault. Bob was here the whole time. I want to quickly go through a list of some people who were involved with the work here. And if you could save your applause for them after the list, I would appreciate that. First is Mike Daniels. Mike, are you here? Mike is right here. Mike was originally our Director of Public Services at the time of the earthquake and has since been with Pacific International Engineering, and they have allowed us to continue to use him on this project, and we're grateful for that. Kevin Barnes, our Director of Utilities and Development. Mary Davis, Deputy Director of Insurance and Risk Management. Dennis Selberg, Director of Facility Services. And Dennis was actually spreading bark here right up until yesterday. Bill Werda, Maintenance and Record Keeping. Paul Easter, our Director of Public Services, who came in the middle of this project and had to do a lot of work catching up there. Project engineers from Reed Middleton, Dave Swanson and Kylie Yamatsuka. Hopefully I said that right. Architects from Levengood Architects, David Levengood and Kate Johnson. Thank you. And finally, the project contractor from Roglands, Lance Harris and Rocky Howard. Thank you, everybody, for your work on this. That I'd like to share with you. I grew up just over a block away from this courthouse, and I came through here a lot of times. I came through and around the building, and probably places I should not have been as a child. And it was just a building to and from school that you would take shortcuts through or sell band candles or whatever we did to raise money for various things. And for anyone who's still here, thank you for buying from me all those years. But the significance of the building is not apparent to a grade school kid or even to a junior high or high school kid coming and going. This is our justice hall. This is where we protect people through our court system from crimes and to keep people from committing further crimes. This is where we protect the innocent who are wrongly accused. And there are other functions of this building that Cheryl Brown could talk to you about, or the prosecutor, or adult probation. There are many things that are important not only to Grays Harbor County, but to every city and every citizen in Grays Harbor County, and this is where it happens. Now, some have mentioned the earthquake. Now, let's just go back to the earthquake in February of 2001, this year. It rocked western Washington, it destroyed buildings, it destroyed roads and bridges, and the governor immediately leapt into action and declared a disaster. And he should have done that. But go back nearly 2 years earlier when the earthquake hit only Grays Harbor County. Where was the governor? He did not declare a disaster, and therefore we were not eligible because of that decision for the 75% and perhaps 87.5% of federal funds through FEMA in order to recover from the disaster. We were left on our own, as Grays Harbor has been many times. Nonetheless, something had to be done. And Commissioner Beerbower and Commissioner Dixon and Commissioner Paler had to take action at that time. Their alternatives were to leave this building to deteriorate and waste the resource, not only financially but historically, and find a place to rent. And Commissioner Morissette mentioned next to the truck shop with the fumes and the rodents and everything else. Where would we rent long-term a place to put our courthouse and our prosecutor and our clerk and everybody else? And how would the public deal with that over the long term? The second alternative they had was to demolish this building and spend about 13 or 14 million dollars to demolish a historic building and build another box. And let me tell you, this is not an architectural jewel next door. Okay, we would have had twin boxes in Grays Harbor County. Okay, first we had the Twin Towers at Satsop, then we would have had the twin boxes here. That was not only an unappealing architecturally option, it was unappealing financially. So they made the proper choice, and I encourage you, to, since the other commissioners are not here, to at least thank Commissioner Beerbower for that foresight. And if you see Commissioner Dixon and Commissioner Paler, I guess we're commissioner for life, but to thank them also for the decisions that they made. Not only did they save money, but I believe they saved lives, because that earthquake in February of this year rocked Montesano really hard again. And this building had earthquake shear walls put in it that hardened 2 weeks prior to that earthquake. The building, at the time of the earthquake, was filled with workers. Before it stopped shaking, the workers were all outside. We watched them. Bob and I were nearly hugging each other because we were talking in his doorway, and neither one of us were going to get out of the doorway for the other one. But we looked through the window and we saw workers pouring out of this building. If it hadn't been workers, it would have been hundreds of county employees and members of the public who are in this building daily, and they probably would have been under a pile of rubble if those shear walls had not been done. Why were they done 2 weeks before the quake? Because these guys didn't waste any time in making the decisions to get this thing done, even though we were left by ourselves from the state. So I believe they saved money, they saved lives, and they saved an historic courthouse. And Bob, I just want to say thank you for what you did.
Thank you, Dan. A lot of times I think Dan gets started and he doesn't know when to quit, but on that speech I thought it was a real good speech. We have one more person to introduce here, and he has a few words to say about it, and he has really been interested in this operation because he has some heritage back here in this community and everything. And let me move on my paperwork here. And this is Chief Justice Gary Alexander. He was born in Aberdeen, Thurston and Mason County Superior Court Judge, 10 years, Court of Appeals. Since 1995 has served on the County Superior Court. For the past year, he has served as Chief Justice for the Washington State Supreme Court. And so I'd like to have you please welcome Chief Justice Gary Alexander.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioner. Justice Hunt, when you were mentioning that if a person who tried a case in this building was dissatisfied with the result, they could appeal to your court. I was standing next to Judge Godfrey, and I heard him mutter under his breath, "They don't make any mistakes here in the Grays Harbor County Superior Court." Fellow judges, elected officials of Grays Harbor County, members of the bar, ladies and gentlemen, let me just first express my thanks to the organizers of this event for inviting me to be here for this important event in the history of this county, the grand reopening of the magnificent Grays Harbor County Courthouse. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I go to a lot of events, but this is one I have really been looking forward to coming to. I'd also like to commend the elected officials, the judges, the architects, the contractors, anyone who had anything to do with restoring this magnificent and beautiful building. I'm sure there were problems encountered. Financing is always a problem, whether it's public or private financing. I'm sure construction difficulties were found, but they've done such a wonderful job, and I want to commend them. And I want to thank you not only for what you have done for the citizens of this county, who will be the primary beneficiaries of this building, but also for the citizens of the entire state. And Commissioner Wood, if it was up to this branch of government. I think the state should help in the financing of this building, because this building means more than it means a lot to the citizens of this county, but it means a lot to the citizens of the state as well. If you travel the state of Washington, you'll notice that we have fortunately, a lot of beautiful courthouses around the state. There's a gorgeous one not too far from here in your neighboring county of Pacific County down in South Bend. The courthouse up in Port Townsend, a lot of you have visited that. The courthouse in Spokane is a magnificent structure. There's a beautiful little courthouse in Dayton over in eastern Washington. That's a county with not very many people, but they got a beautiful courthouse. But in my travels around the state, I don't think there's a courthouse in the state that's more revered than the Grays Harbor County Courthouse. And I know a little bit of what I speak about because I've spent a considerable amount of time in my life in this building, not as much as a lot of other people who are here. But as it's been mentioned, I was born in Aberdeen. I can remember visiting this building with my parents when I was a youngster. I've tried cases in this building when I was a lawyer in Olympia and coming down and poaching a little bit of business in Grays Harbor County. I've tried cases here in front of Judge Schumacher, who's here present today. I've sat in this building as a visiting Superior Court judge. I've also sat in this building as a member of the Court of Appeals when we first started traveling around the state. We came to Grays Harbor. And in March of 1999, I had the great pleasure of sitting in this building with the Supreme Court of the state of Washington when, I think for the first time, the Supreme Court of the state of Washington heard a docket of cases in the Grays Harbor County Courthouse. So I'm so delighted with what you've done for your citizens of this county, but for all of the citizens of the state. I close maybe on the theme that a couple of the commissioners have mentioned. You know, a lot of people might say, why save an old building? Why not just tear it down and build another building like the one next door? Some people would say that's cheaper and more efficient. And the arguments I would use against that would be the classical argument that it's important for us to maintain the best of our architectural heritage. Our public and private buildings that are significant should be maintained. But when it comes to a courthouse, I'd make another argument. It seems to me that it's important that we maintain our fine old courthouses, particularly those that were built in the latter part of the 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, which was kind of the heyday period of building courthouses. Because a county courthouse, the American county courthouse, is really a symbol, an icon, if you will, of what this nation stands for. We, at the end of the 18th century, shook off a monarchy and founded a nation with a kind of a novel idea that we would be a nation of laws and not of men. And it seems to me that the county courthouse is a symbol of that, liberty and justice for all. So it's important that we maintain those symbols, and this building has stood as a symbol in Grays Harbor County since it was first occupied in 1910, and it will continue to be a symbol for the next 100 years and more, just as it has the last, 91 years of this county's history. It's kind of corny to say, but I guess if these walls could talk, these interior walls, they could relate a lot of stories about the human dramas that have unfolded in this building over the years. If I could go back in a time machine, and there's one case I would love to sit in, and that was the famous, the old-timers will recall hearing about this, the Centralia Massacre trial was tried here. It was tried on they changed venue from Lewis County. There's been a veteran of the First World War shot in an Armistice Day parade. A number of people were charged with murder. 7 of them were convicted in this building. And that trial is a famous part of Washington state history. And thank heavens this building will be here in the future to entertain trials like that, and that will become part of our state's future history. And so it's just, I'm excited like everyone else is to get inside and look at it, so I'll stop talking now. But again, stop where I began by saying thank you very much for inviting me to be here today. I'm excited and delighted to be here.
Thank you very much, Gary. I would also go back to the same thing of thanking the festival of people, which Vinnie Samuel has been kind of in charge of, and I thank her very much. She, of course, is always thinking the committees that work with her and all the people that put things together. And I'm sure there's a lot of things around also while you're here in Montesano today to look at and take in. I'd just like to say one other thing before we cut the ribbon, is the fact that I think that Rodland's done a super job, their whole crews and everything else to make this happen. I was over in this building an awful lot, getting in their way, and maybe we'd have had this sooner if I'd have stayed out of their way, but they did a great job. I just want everyone to understand that most of the things they did is covered up because we needed to make the building structurally sound. And that's what the main purpose of this was, is to make it safe for the public and safe for the employees. So a lot of the work has been covered up. You could go into an old building like this and spend millions of dollars to fix it up. So when you see the cracks, you see some of the things, we were able, because we had to fix up the under walls and everything, of getting some fresh paint and some things like that. But it still could have been a lot more cost to this if we'd have done all the things that you would do to restore a building of this age. But the main thing was to make sure the structure was right, and that's where we intended to go. So with that, I would like to get forward with the ribbon cutting. I'd like to have my other two commissioners, and I'd also like to have Mike Daniels come up here with us and cut this ribbon.
You're supposed to be recording? It works for a newspaper.
Thank you all for coming, and come inside and look at your courthouse.
Which time is the break?
Oh, sure we are. Hi, how are you?
I'm gonna go through. Okay.
Go ahead.
Still a little pink, but it was very grand.
I've been filing papers. My daughter. That's all. My daughter Blair. If there's anybody important going to be there besides me. Oh, how are you doing there, Tiger? Yeah, sure. He's on vacation for a couple of days. I'll be back next week. Great to see you.
You guys look good today.
Thank you.
Hey, I like the t-shirt. Can I get one?
Huh? You got one, didn't you?
I'm going to go in. 7 years. Look, this photographer, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 30 How are we doing? His son was inducted into the Hall of Fame. He came up with the ceremony.
I remember when you played with Gary Nelson. You were a guard.
It's good to see you both again. Okay, keep up the great work.
Yeah, I'm going to go on it. How you doing? Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Haven't seen you since dinner that day, huh? You hit all the festivals, don't you?
I know where the free handouts, aren't you, huh? Just like potlucks. He's that kind of guy, right?
Oh, you want that?
Watch out. Backwards. Go backwards, sweetie. Did Miranda do it? What are you doing, Lindsay Jane?
Oh, she spilled her stuff and
What are you doing?
sat in it.
Lindsay did?
Yeah,
What'd
so
she
she's
spill?
got wet
What
britches.
are you doing?
Wet, sticky britches.
What are you doing?
Change it. It's cool, Randy. I gotta go get her changed before the parade. No, you're not. No, you're not. Kids.
Yeah.
Come on, Lance. Lucy, come on, honey.
People are already lined up. Getting us moving.
Where's Tigger?
Oh, is it here?
Right. Mama, there's steps.
Here, like,
Kind of a self-guided tour, yeah. I heard that.
go. Come on, honey. Go.
And they got some cake and punch.
Back.